Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Tell you this in a little bit. There's a lot of things happening and just happening so magical. And thank you to an amazing classic rock station in the area, the home of rock and roll, of 101.5 WPDH. You're celebrating their 50th year this year, celebrating 50 years, and I have great memories to tell you about, including some of the just amazing um, contributions of this station. Obviously, we got this coming up. I got that, obviously in the back, which I'll explain later, through the Catskill International Film Festival. But first, um, something magical. Well, by the way, my name is Chuck Martin, Charlie Chuck Chaz from CGM3 Productions, you know, and this is really like a celebration of sorts. Okay. So there's a celebration of sorts out there right now. Um, let's start back in March. Obviously, it was my birthday, my 59th birthday, and just an amazing month. It just 2026 is just raising the bar every time. It's a win. It's the way we're all coming together, and the way I escape the world right now, it's through music, through the art, through what we do, through what I do the best as a consultant, also a producer, also many other derivatives. A photographer once in a while, a guest photographer at the Sullivan County Democrat. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Thank you, Crystal, by the way, and the incredible staff over there. Unbelievable. It's nice to see some things being published and coming from the eyes from a typical Sullivan County resident who actually relocated here in a beautiful village called Jeffersonville, New York. And it's absolutely amazing. So besides local media, which I showed off, the swag, from VOS, from my alma mater, and incredible source. Oh, by the way, there was an amazing thing for this past Friday. It was the St. Jude's benefit for the children, and it was through Thunder 102. And I got to see dignitaries. In fact, the last couple of weeks, I got to see dignitaries for the very first time. Introduced myself out there. It's like, pleased to meet you. I told them about my situation. And thank you so much for the prayers and the strength and everything else. And seeing some longtime friends that I worked in radio to in high school. In fact, the jam session up in up there yesterday, up in Claryville, incredible place, and more to come with that. So, but getting off the beaten track, and I'm trying to make sure I do write down, because obviously keep this in mind, it's chemo brain. Okay. Um, in March, obviously birthday month, celebrated every day and making things happen, making put in a little miracle here, miracle there, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, obviously, I wanted to see two big shows in this past year. Pardon me. As you may know, Led Zeppelin. Thank you, ladies. You made me appreciate. First of all, appreciate a band that's been progressively in that from the many years, for the last few years, and the song remained the same. They saw the 50th anniversary through it. Through at the Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center, Led Zeppelin, an all-female tribute band to Led Zeppelin, and they embodied it very well. So, ladies, you're the best. And then, obviously, seeing a picture in the paper that I took, and it was like "Whole Lot of Love," and I said, "Oh, this is too sweet," because the way they portrayed it and just like rocking it and just making it a good time. And then the week after, finally, after so many years, I always wanted to see Zebra. Now, Zebra is a legend in the Hudson Valley and the Catskills, from Monticello all the way to Poughkeepsie, New Paltz, Middletown, everywhere. And getting to see Randy Jackson and just seeing his comment, and he could, because I took a video on another page on a reel, and saw a drum solo, and the drum solo, he kicked butt. So and then I get a little message from Randy Jackson himself. I was like, am I over the rainbow? I am like in rock and roll heaven. Yes, I'm still here, but I'm in rock and roll heaven. What can I tell you? And it's just amazing. So, I found out about when obviously the museum was being opening, and I got something to show you because I always take pictures over there at this because first of all, it's made here in Sullivan County. Little take a home piece. That's amazing. That's an amazing job. So thank you for whoever made it based in Sullivan County. You can get that at the wood shop, but we're not going to take that away. But we're going to make something a little bit better out of this because, by the way, they're open right now. But it happened. Obviously, this is the 50th anniversary of a great classic rock station, and from boyhood or from teenhood, back way, 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 way in the day, with the 8 o'clock rock blocks. I must have done probably about 4 or 5 of them. And I did one for the class of 1986, and we kicked it off with Led Zeppelin, ironically, with Over the Hill and Far Away. And I thought that was absolutely, because it just ended up, and I hear it every time on that, and good memories with Matt Walsh, the legend himself, on that time. And then obviously I grew, obviously the Passion Radio kept calling me and everything. And I'm thinking of all the Rock Block t-shirts that was represented. So, I wish I knew where they are, but this is even better. I love it. I love this, I love it, what's going on out there right now. And then, so everything started to progress and everything else. And then, when I started working over at WVOS back in the day, I said, you know what? I'm going to go over and support my radio brothers and sisters at Roofathon. The biggest memory ever. I mean, it just like the magic. I mean, whether it was like, the Wolf or Coop, the late, great John Cooper. Buffalo Bills fan, by the way. Buffalo Bills. The late and fantastic producer himself, Mike Colvin, Mad Mike Colvin. And Steve is carrying the torch. So kudos going out to my brother over across the river. And there's a list of them out there that I really get, but there's some key figures that I really, really want to, home base on, especially with Robin Taylor. Finally, after all this time, I just kept going, with everything else. And it's like my personal memory with Robin and whatnot. It's like when I came home from college, it was definitely when she did lunch or when she did midday, and it was like lunch request, or going to the Roofathon, or, telling about my nephew, who was 2 years old at the time, ironically. Now, keep this in mind, I have cancer now. My nephew had the child form of leukemia. And the biggest support ever from one radio station, from one Hudson Valley radio station, which I'm very, very proud of, appreciative, and everything in that too. So every year I go down there and, seeing like, the crew, like Coop, Tobin, the road crew, Robin, obviously Robin, and, you're the best, obviously. But the man of the hour, I have to say, I saw that picture, and obviously it's been, on my, over on my pictures, for the radio legends. And he's quite a legend himself, let me tell you. Tigman. John Tigman, really, I don't want to butcher his name, but Tig, obviously amazing, amazing individual. So, and, obviously, with the mix in that, before I forget about, the week after, we throw a little bit more about PDH here. This is kind of leading up to the bigger thing and the bigger picture, because the week after that was, again, I think I did mention this before, with Zebra and having Randy Jackson, the one and only Randy Jackson, Oh my goodness, I was like in seventh heaven. And with the drum solo, and it's like, and he says, glad you enjoyed the show. Of course. I mean, PDH obviously played Tell Me What You Want, a couple of their big hits, and Bears. And I obviously fell in love with Bears because it's an amazing, amazing song. And it just, we were rocking out with it. So that night was absolutely amazing in the month of March. Now, here we are in the month of April. And obviously big things coming up, contests and everything else, and obviously there's Bourse, right now today, and at the exception of the beginning of the year, because, obviously their birthday is June 1st. Okay. So somewhere in my collection, I have the classic 1986 calendar back in the day. Calendar. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in the archives, but before I get thrown off track, we're getting back to right now. This is the month of April. A lot of things are happening. There's like, tickets go here, tickets to go there. And then obviously there's obviously Tigman has the contest every Monday through Friday at 4:20. It's called the 4:20 Riff. Okay. And I'm just saying, this is absolutely easy. I mean, it's easy for some of us. It's easy for, maybe it's a challenge or something like that. And they just think about the one song or, I mean, obviously you can hear Lynyrd Skynyrd, Boston, Poison, Motley Crue, Ted Nugent, Pat Benatar, Bon Jovi, and hint, hint, wink, wink, that happened this past week with Bon Jovi. So I'm listening this week because this week, obviously coming up in June, especially June 5th, is Triumph at the Jones Beach Amphitheater. So here I am, kind of recovering from my chemo, my trip down to Middletown, coming back up. I wanted to hear what's going on, and obviously paying attention to what's going on out there. So the 4:20 Riff comes on. Okay. And I know the chords, I know the riff, and it was absolutely, and I'm just scratching, I'm like, man, this is too easy. And I hear it. So, I mean, I felt, in consolation with it, but at the same time, I knew my music. So one caller said he was like in the ballpark of Van Halen. But here's like, da 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 da, like that with Roy Orbison, the classic Roy Orbison song. But Van Halen did its twist to that. And it's like, Oh Pretty Woman. So here I am calling and just waiting. It's like, hey, how you doing? It's like, and it's like, the riff? Tigman goes, do you know the riff? I said, yeah, I know the riff. It's like classic VH. I mean, he said it, he corrected myself that it's Van Halen, Oh Pretty Woman. And it's like, that's right, it's exciting and, whatever. And like, it just put my eyes sparkle and everything. I said, guess what? You won a pair of tickets to see Triumph at the Jones Beach Amphitheater. My eyes glazed. I'm still living off the adrenaline like from last Wednesday, man. It's like, it just seems like, oh my goodness, this is great, and I do hope, we get like something going on for that beforehand. So, I'm elated. I am overjoyed, and it's absolute. So Tigman, WPDH, thank you. And though I'm 59, I feel like the older brother that with this radio station been through that. And by the way, I'm gonna be sharing a post. What I did on another platform in regards of celebrating of 50 years of great rock and roll. And this is like not only from today, but the classics. What we all grew up with. It could have been an 8 o'clock rock block, or I heard the similar riffs or anything else. That's all on that one list. So lo and behold, everything else. And I'm friending, I've been, obviously, and I knew Robin for a number of years as, with everything else. And Robin, my blessings are with you. Feel better. You got this. You're an amazing producer. You are the rock, heart, and soul of WPDH. Always loved you, and seeing you jam and out like that. So I'm just really appreciative of the radio rock, the rock and roll part of it. Sure, there's obviously NEW out of the city or WBAB or the list goes on and on. But just celebrating, just something so amazing. So, and on that note, I'm just gonna leave like that. By the way, just to let you know, obviously this is a precursor because we actually had this. We had the 1 year anniversary. We showed this last year, but kind of tie it up with things for my my crew for the Catskill International Film Festival. Now we're accepting many things. It's going to be an action-packed year, and I hope to see this coming up in October 9th to October 11th. That's going to be, so there's a lot of planning, a lot of busyness, a lot of going on, and obviously it's going to be, and I'll tell you more of the details when, as the months progress, but, you got to be in it. You have to be in it. It'd be supportive about it. So, but just so, just like I said, with the swag, can't help it, and obviously what's going on with this lately. But again, 2026 has been a banner year. I'm ecstatic, can't wait. And again, from my heart to the PDH family and whatnot, I thank you so much. Thank you to Tigman. Thank you to Robin. Thank you to Hopkins in the midday with a whole lot of lunch. Playing a request and just checking in and say, hey, I'm doing okay, and everything else. So it's kind of nice having the voice of, getting my voice back out there. So obviously Chuck from Sullivan County, hint, hint, wink, wink, so you know who it is. So anyway, just gonna wrap this up for now. Gonna relax this week, and some things are gonna be happening. I just can't wait. This is gonna be, an outing for me. Making some plans, making some things happen, making some magic happen. So, and it's going to be very, very, very much, one of the best weeks ever. So, otherwise, it's Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions, or just simply Chuck Martin. Hey, obviously celebrating with these guys and for 50 years. So I'm going to be doing something before the anniversary, and for 50 years they've been rocking and rolling, keeping it alive, and making all things happen. Always raise that bar. Always raise the bar. And again, my favorite saying, it's a win. So peace, love, friendship. We will see you later on.